first of all, she's not really a progressive at all based on her policy positions, but that's not even the important part. It's unclear what she believes at any time. Because she's just constantly looking for a way to get in power. First, she was a Hillary Clinton supporter, then she was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Now she's a Donald Trump supporter with no logic, rhyme, or reason as to why.
Well, hello, everybody. It is your favorite commenter, Euroconservative Perspective, the man who was born and raised in the United States but has been living in Belgium for over 30 years now, commenting on various issues of the day, mainly, well, these days, mainly on American issues, on politics and culture, sometimes on European stuff, and the UK more particularly. And today, because it's that time of the election cycle, we're talking about Tulsi Gabbard. We're here on the Young Turks, where Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are talking about Tulsi Gabbard, who has been picked as picked by Donald Trump as her, what do they call it, Director of National Defense. No, Director of National Intelligence. And yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know a lot about her. When I've seen her speak, she comes across very well. She says the right things, but, savvy politicians do say the right things. And it seems like the Young Turks, Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, are not happy with a recent 180 that she has done on some sort of surveillance policy. So let's get into it, because I don't really know anything about this. Let's see what they have to say.
Tulsi Gabbard, who, of course, is Donald Trump's pick to serve as Director of National Intelligence, has now reversed her position on government spying. This is definitely a big downer, especially considering the fact that one of her redeeming qualities was the fact that she consistently spoke out against government surveillance. But not anymore. Suddenly, she's a proponent of the government surveillance authority that she had previously wanted to entirely dismantle. And there's some reason to believe that she's doing it because she wants to get confirmed for the position that Donald Trump has tapped her for. Now, at issue is something known as FISA Section 702. If you're unfamiliar with that, it was basically a provision within the giant amount of legislation that was passed following the 9/11 terrorist attacks that essentially provided government with more surveillance authority. Again, it passed right after 9/11, but it was enacted in 2008. Now, Tulsi Gabbard previously had a problem with FISA Section 702 because it was being used to spy on American citizens without a warrant. Now she's telling CNN, I'm all for it. Okay, so before we get to her reversal, here are some issues with the FISA laws and how it was negatively impacting American citizens. So while FISA 702 surveillance must be directed at foreigners abroad that are suspected of planning or engaging in terrorist activities against the United States or Americans, unfortunately, there was a loophole that allowed for the FBI and the intelligence community to essentially spy on American citizens. Intelligence agencies deliberately search for communications of US persons within FISA 702 data or query it without court approval, meaning no warrant from a judge is necessary. And many innocent Americans were spied on as a result of this, including peaceful protesters, lawmakers, journalists, even political donors. Now, for example, even though internal rules at the FBI indicate that the FBI should not be spying on American citizens by using FISA Section 702, in 2002, just as an example, the FBI conducted over 200,000 US person queries, including an estimated 4,000 in violation of their own rules. So this is why Gabbard rightly had a problem with FISA Section 702, but now she argues that's not the case. She says that Section 702, unlike other FISA authorities, is crucial for gathering foreign intelligence on non-US persons abroad. This unique capability cannot be replicated and must be safeguarded to protect our nation while ensuring the civil liberties of Americans.
Yeah, spying on non-US persons abroad. Of course, governments like to spy. Intelligence agencies love to spy on people, including their own citizens. And yeah, there's obviously here there's specific rules. They can spy on non-U.S. citizens abroad, but they can't spy on citizens of U.S. citizens abroad or something. The war on terror. Oh, if we could only roll back everything, all the legislation that was enacted in the wake of 9/11, that has been a disaster, frankly. And yeah, it's talk about erosion of civil liberties. Jesus. Of course, some countries are taking, I mean, America as the global empire, yes, it just spies everywhere. That's what it's going to do. It's going to be hard to stop that. But other countries, which are no longer global powers, like the UK, they've taken these things even further. They are literally spying on their own citizens. And, they are banging up people putting people in jail for writing mean tweets on the internet because those mean tweets, disparage certain groups in the community or something. And things are getting out of hand. This all needs to stop. The surveillance, the 24/7 surveillance state needs to stop. Where I live in Belgium, the capital, Brussels. I used to live actually in Brussels for many years. I don't now, but I lived there for many years. Brussels has so many CCTV cameras. They are everywhere. I think England is worse. I think London is probably worse. But Brussels is incredible. It is so surveilled. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a European Union program they're going to run some trials on 3 cities, and I think Brussels is one of them, where they're going to use AI to pull together all the feeds from all these cameras all at the same time. And they are literally, I'm not making this up. You can look this up. I don't have it here on my fingertips, but you can look it up. They're literally trying to implement a type of pre-crime program. So the idea is, yes, with all these cameras, after a crime is committed, police can go and search through them and look to see if they can find suspects. No, what they're going to do is with AI, the AI is going to be monitoring all the feeds from all these cameras. There are thousands of them in Brussels, which is not a particularly big city, by the way. It's not like London, for example, or LA or anything like that. It's a very compact city. So AI is going to monitor the feeds from these thousands of CCTV cameras, and it is going to interpret the movements of people in these feeds and determine that, the AI tells us these people in this feed here in that part of town are acting in a way that is typical of those who are about to commit a crime, right? That's what we call pre-crime. It's like that movie, Minority Report. Remember that? Yeah. Now, why do we need all this surveillance? 40 years ago, 50 years ago, there wasn't all that surveillance and there wasn't all that crime. There wasn't all that terrorism or that terroristic threat. So why would we need to surveil our own citizens here in Belgium so much? Well, does it have anything to do with the fact that we've imported or allowed entry to so many people from wildly incompatible cultures and from dangerous parts of the world who have links to terrorism? Yes, that's absolutely why. And we've let our cities get out of control. It's also spilling into the smaller towns in Belgium. But sorry for this long rant, but it's serious. And what it means is because of this, because this has been allowed to happen or has been promoted even, we all have to live with the consequences. And I don't want to get into conspiracy theories here on this channel, but like I said, it's not only, the politicians will just say, well, that's just the situation. That's just the way it is now. No, I think not only has it been allowed to happen, it has been promoted, which implies that the powers that be want it to be like that. So, yeah, it's pretty outrageous if you ask me. But let's get back to this. So apparently Tulsi Gabbard has let down the Young Turks. I'm not surprised. She is a politician.
Yeah, that's exactly what neoconservatives say in defending FISA Section 702. But let me give you more of her statement, which she provided to CNN. My prior concerns about FISA were based on insufficient protections for civil liberties, particularly regarding the FBI's misuse of warrantless search powers on American citizens. Significant FISA reforms have been enacted since my time in Congress to address these issues. If confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will uphold Americans' Fourth Amendment rights while maintaining vital national security tools like Section 702 to ensure the safety and freedom of the American people. Now, I just want to be clear. She was very much against this previously. In fact, she tried to repeal both the Patriot Act and Section 702 shortly before she left Congress.
That's pretty based. If anybody could repeal the Patriot Act, whoa, they would get a lot of support. I would support anybody who could manage to get that done.
2020. Also in her memoir, Gabbard wrote the following: the intelligence community and national security state are so supremely powerful and accountable to no one that even the President of the United States better not dare criticize them. That's from her memoir. But let's go back to her argument that there have been meaningful reforms to FISA Section 702 since she spoke out against it. Turns out that is not the case. And I'm going to cite an organization known as the Center for Democracy and Technology to argue why. They write that although supporters of the new law, the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act, H.R. 7888, claimed it contained meaningful reforms, the bill largely preserved a problematic status quo and actually expanded surveillance at an alarming manner. The so-called reformed version does not require the intelligence community to obtain a warrant from a judge. The warrant requirement was considered an amendment in the House of Representatives, but the outcome was tied with a 212 to 212 vote. And in the Senate, that amendment was entirely defeated. So the warrant requirement was totally taken out as an amendment in the so-called reforms of FISA 702. And the Biden administration and congressional leadership insisted that senators oppose all amendments to avoid FISA lapsing. The amendment that would have imposed the warrant rule failed by a 42 to 50 vote. Cenk.
Yeah, so look, you're addressing a couple of points I wanted to make. One is, what meaningful reform? Okay, all right, you're gonna get hearings, right? I mean, the problem is that almost all the Democrats and Republicans want to do warrantless wiretapping. So I don't know that she's gonna get a single hard question in the right direction here. They'll probably be like, how dare you ever oppose warrantless wiretapping of American citizens? Don't you know they're lower than us? We have to wiretap them and do it illegally. You know that, and she'll be like, no, I'm all totally in favor of illegal warrantless wiretapping. Yes, I love it now that I'm gonna get this position of power, right? So, but is anybody gonna actually ask the question, okay, what meaningful reforms are you talking about? And when those meaningful reforms came out or passed, why didn't you say at the time that, oh wow, hey, look at that, they reformed 702, now I'm in favor of it? You didn't do that, because you know why? Because you're lying both times. So like, for example, Plastic Brick Dragon wrote in at TYT.com, he's a member. We love our members, become a member, hit the join button, etc. But they wrote in, Anna, are you truly surprised by Gabbard's flip-flop? This is what she does depending on how it benefits her at the moment. And of course, Anna's not surprised. Anna's the first person who called out Tulsi Gabbard for being a fraud. And she took a ton of heat for that. I don't remember a lot of those people who thought she was the greatest progressive in the world coming back and apologizing to Anna for being 100% right about that, right? And why does she do that? Because she studied Tulsi Gabbard. She studied her policies. She studied her statements because she was running for president at the time in 2020. And what she found out was first of all, she's not really a progressive at all based on her policy positions. But that's not even the important part. It's unclear what she believes at any time. Right. She's just constantly looking for a way to get in power. First, she was a Hillary Clinton supporter, then she was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Now she's a Donald Trump supporter with no logic, rhyme, or reason as to why. It's just power precious. So, okay, tell me, Section 702, what changed? Go ahead, Tulsi, what changed? I'll tell you what changed. In order to get into power, you needed to kiss the ass of Republican establishment politicians. So that's what you're doing now. So, I mean, I hope you're lying to them. And I wrote about this in social media. And interestingly enough, the right-wing reaction was, you're right. That's super disconcerting because we really were against warrantless wiretapping. And that's part of why we like Tulsi.
You're right about that. So Tim Burchett, I should say, who's a Republican lawmaker in Congress, actually voted against renewing FISA Section 702 last year when it was up for a vote. And he specifically called out the fact that it is a violation of Americans' Fourth Amendment rights. And so there's actually bipartisan support in doing away with this warrantless wiretapping, which allegedly is only focused on foreigners, but in reality, a lot of innocent American citizens get caught up in it.
Well, there you have it. Yeah, so I don't have strong feelings about Tulsi Gabbard one way or the other, but as I said, when I've heard her talk, she seems to say the right things these days, but that's what politicians do, smart ones. They try to say the right things to get voted in and to get ahead and to make their way into power. That's their job, after all. Yeah, so it is disconcerting. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you know any more about this, I'd be very happy to hear about it in the comments. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.